Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Now, huge thank you to AsianStoner for sending in a seriously fairly unique rank 4 choice and rank 4 Falcon. And we do have several clips to show to you guys today. So once again, huge thank you to all of you for supporting the channel. Hit those like buttons, subscribe if you haven't yet. And obviously, once again, huge thank you to everybody sending in the rank 4 footage, because it does appear that loads of people are extremely curious and do want to see how exactly these rank 4 champions are working out for all of the players. And well, here we have rank 4 6-star Falcon. And this time around, he's going up against Mr. Fantastic. This is, I believe, in 746 in one of the lanes where skill champions basically have a chance to get a Fury buff when they have power burn effects inflicted upon them. Then they do gain passive Fury for time being, and in exchange they do get power burned a bit and they lose some of their power. So it's kind of like a bit of health exchange for attack bonus. But obviously the cool thing against Mr. Fantastic is that he always has a chance to evade, so we can see that Falcon is definitely building up his cruelties quite quickly and getting rid of this Mr. Fantastic in a fairly efficient manner, I would say. And here with that, obviously, interestingly enough, there doesn't seem to be willpower involved here. Oh, and at the very end, 1%, his lock-on expired, and he did actually end up taking a hit to the face. But let's go on to the next clip. We will also have some Labyrinth of Legends and a bit of Abyss of Legends too. Now, Falcon's going to be going up against Spidey, and Spidey, once again, is an amazing matchup because you do obviously have a chance to evade on every hit, which means every time you strike Spider-Man, if he is not under an effective stun, you will be gaining that cruelty, and that obviously substantially does increase your damage output. And this does appear to be in the same lane here, but we can see that by the time he gets to level 2, that Spider-Man is pretty much done and out. That was a very quick brief fight there. Now it's going to be up against Miles Morales, and let's see how this one works out. I do think it did appear that there are kind of like, this is a very weird matchup because every time he gains a cruelty, he gains 2 instead. And I'm not entirely sure why or how it is happening there, but it does seem that there's like either 2 abilities that are being bypassed at all times or something of the sort, because in this match he's building up those cruelties at an incredible pace. As we can see here, within 20 hits he's already up to like 40 some cruelties and insane amount of damage. Now there, obviously, he did the one thing you typically don't want to do against Miles Morales, and that is a use special attack, because it always has a chance to miss. But let's move on to the next clip. So we have been blitzing through these initial clips. This showcase isn't going to be as long, but obviously we have a Labyrinth of Legends solo, and then also we have Abyss of Legends fight. Those are going to be taking a bit longer, but now he's going up against Ultron. And interestingly enough, Falcon does prevent Ultron from evading, even though he shouldn't, technically, because technically Ultron's function should be immune to ability accuracy reduction. But, you know, just because Habam said something's meant to work some way, it does not necessarily mean that it will. And here we can see that he's already at 17 cruelties. Ultron is halfway down, so he's going to go for level 2, which is a guaranteed crit while the lock-on is active, so that does do quite a bit of damage. And now that Ultron is all but dead at like 2% health. And yeah, all of these are very quick, very brief fights. Now this is going to be a fight against Labyrinth of Legends Red Hulk. And similarly, like we can see with, for instance, Black Cat these days, it's also the case with Falcon that Abyss and Labyrinth of Legends do work perfectly for Falcon, in the sense that there is a tiny chance for an evade to trigger on every single hit. That means on every single hit he's hitting whilst lock-on is active and the opponent is not stunned, you'll be gaining cruelty. And it works very similarly with Black Cat as well. That is exactly why she's looking as impressive as she is in the Labyrinth of Legends and in Abyss of Legends, is because of that evade chance. But again, whilst it does exist, we might as well include it in the video. But it is important to understand that cruelty benefit and that stacking of cruelties will not always be there. It only works when you do prevent opponents from evading in case of Falcon, and in case of Black Cat, whenever you do prevent abilities from triggering, which also would include abilities, well, evade abilities. This does not happen like that against an average Red Hulk without some specific evade nodes involved. All that being said, he's already at 30 cruelty charges here. I believe he's going to go in for level 3 because level 3, I think, has a physical vulnerability debuff that he can inflict. However, in case of Red Hulk, I'm not even too sure whether it's that important, because Red Hulk typically has like huge physical resistance to begin with, and with that, you just kind of cancel it out. But the idea of fighting against Red Hulk typically is obviously just rely on your crits, because critical hits bypass majority of the physical resistance as is. So I do think that physical vulnerability is a very effective way how to increase your damage, just not necessarily in every single matchup. But here we are, he is at 45 cruelties. Obviously, we all do want to see how hard he's going to be hitting when he reaches 90 cruelties. Also worth noting that he's not running boosts, or I believe he's not running boosts, but he's definitely not running Liquid Courage Double Edge, which Falcon can do relatively well, because you do not end up throwing too many special attacks in an average fight. And that obviously would have increased the numbers significantly further. Because Falcon actually does benefit a lot from increase in attack, because he doesn't have any innate way to do that. There are no like real fury buffs and stuff like that. He really does rely on the high crit chance and high crit damage, but those are subjected to diminishing returns. And if you do increase his base attack, that immediately is noticeable. It's kind of similar with Corvus as well, for instance. Or, I don't know, Mole-Man, or most of these champions that largely rely on crit damage to get through fights. If you can manage to alter their attack, that has a massive impact immediately. But here we are. That Red Hulk is definitely going down fairly quickly. We only have used about half of the first timer here at this point, and he's already at 86 cruelties. That means that, you know, he's hitting progressively harder with each new cruelty that he does get. But again, keep in mind that it is subject to diminishing returns, so closer he gets to, like, you know, the 100 cruelty stacks, the less effect each individual cruelty point does have. But here we are, Red Hulk kind of unwilling to throw that level 2. He unfortunately does get clipped by it as well, but it's fine. And now he's at like 94 cruelty stacks, and closing in on basically his max damage with his current configuration without having run Liquid Courage Double Edge Masteries, so on and so forth. But lost 19%. So let's see if he does have Assassin. I'm not sure if he does. I don't think the Assassin attack boost was there. But either way, so he's maxed out at 101 cruelties, and now it's about as hard as rank 4 Falcon can hit with this specific setup. And he goes for a level 2 with 45k and finishes it off. Now, we do have a fight against, obviously, Thing as well. Unfortunately, it will not be a full solo, because without Liquid Courage Double Edge, you do kind of end up running out of hits, unless you are purposely just throwing heavy attacks for most part in level 3s. Because if you do play freely with light medium hits, and if you do not have Liquid Courage Double Edge, then you do not quite do enough damage to take down this Abyss Thing in one go. However, you still definitely do plenty of damage. It's worth noting that, you know, most of the champions don't necessarily get through Abyss Thing in one set of charges. There needs to be some exceptionally good interaction, or, you know, just very reserved playstyle, largely spamming heavy attacks or something of the sort, to be able to do that much damage in that short amount of time, and that small amount of hits, more specifically. But the cool thing is, obviously, that as long as lock-on is active, you do not ever have to worry about pushing Thing to 15 or past 15 Rockstack charges, if you keep an eye on that, so you can fight a lot more freely in the first phase. It's also interesting that in second phase, Abyss champions do have increased ability accuracy, and that does not necessarily work anymore. In second phase, you do have to manage Thing's Rockstacks. It's just this one where it isn't really a factor. But we can definitely see that already in the first, 80 hits or so, he's already done like 25% of damage to Thing. And Falcon is just that type of champion. He does hit hard, not the hardest, but definitely more than hard enough to be able to close out the fights. But the coolest and the best thing that Falcon has is obviously that ability to reduce opponent's ability accuracy by 100% from the very first hit of the fight, keep it active, and finish out fights and bypass abilities that way. So I can definitely see a lure of Falcon, and I do have him at rank 3 myself. It's not necessarily my favorite skill champion, but again, as many players, as many champions, you know, who each and every single one of us like more than others. But there are definitely huge benefits to having a highly ranked Falcon, starting with the increase in damage, thus being able to utilize that ability accuracy reduction in broader area of the fights, and obviously also with that increased tankiness and everything else. So I do think that Falcon is fairly unique, very cool rank up as well, and definitely a rank up that, you know, he will get plenty of mileage out of also, because he does counter quite a lot of fights, quite a lot of opponents, and also does, you know, significant amount of damage, especially at rank 4 here. And here we can see that thing is down already by 40%. Now I'm gonna, well, let's play out the first set of charges. Obviously, you also don't really need to worry about protection for most of the time, because whilst you're hitting thing with the lock on active, thing basically never triggers protection, so you bypass that hurdle in this fight as well. But now that he enters the second set of charges, you guys are gonna notice that that rock stacks are gonna start proccing even with lock on active. So we have lock on active, he has no rock stacks, but you can see that, you know, 4 hits, 4 rock stacks built up. So unfortunately he will run out of charges here at some point. I do think that maybe with boosts and liquid courage double edge, and maybe, you know, spamming more heavy attacks, doing like some parry heavy, stuff like that, you can potentially get in a solo, but here is the moment where he runs out of hits at like 43%. So he did 57% damage to this thing. He can easily get through it in like 1 revive, which I think is fairly solid, and definitely, you know, a solid option as well. And ironically, maybe not ironically, but it's an amazing champion for Karina's Challengers challenge, right? Because Falcon is one of the better collector counters that we have available there, so he definitely will benefit from having a Falcon at rank 4 if he has yet to do Karina Challengers challenge. Either way, that is all the clips that I have to show you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit those like buttons, hit those sub buttons, hit all the other buttons, and I have a bunch more gameplay to show to you guys, so stay tuned. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about